At 5:15 on a September morning in 2009, the staff of a cash depot in southern Stockholm looked up through the building's glass roof and saw a helicopter coming down onto it. This building held a large share of the cash for an entire capital city. It was built to survive a siege. Within about 20 minutes, men would drop through that roof, fill bags with money, and lift off into the dark. The police had a helicopter of their own. It never left the ground, and when it was over, almost none of what was taken would ever be seen again. This is how a gang robbed a fortress from the air, and why the people who came for it couldn't follow. To understand the robbery, you have to understand the target. A cash-in-transit depot is where a country's physical money rests between the bank and the street, counted, sorted, and stored in bulk. Lose one, and you don't lose a branch's till. You lose a slice of a nation's cash, so they are built like strong rooms, reinforced walls, sealed doors, sensors, cameras, and guards who follow a script drilled for exactly the kind of assault everyone imagines. A ram at the gate, a torch on the vault, a tunnel from below. Every threat the designers pictured came from the ground, so that is where the defenses pointed, outward and downward. But every fortress has one direction no one fortifies, because no one expects an attack to come from it. Here, that direction was straight up. The roof was glass. Sometime before that morning, a helicopter was taken. A small civilian aircraft, a light single-engine machine of the kind used for sightseeing and traffic reports, reportedly lifted from a field outside the city. But stealing the aircraft was the easy part. Pulling this off meant knowing things outsiders don't. The exact layout of the roof, the strength of the glass, the blind spots, how long the guards inside would take to react, and, above all, how long the police would take to arrive. Investigators came to believe the crew had help understanding all of it. Because here is the insight that separates this from an ordinary robbery. Most crews plan the crime. This crew planned the response to it. A raid this loud would bring an entire city's police down on them within minutes, so the real problem to solve wasn't getting in. It was making sure that when the alarm went out, nothing could come. The helicopter set down on the roof in the half-light. Using a ladder and sledgehammers, the crew broke through the skylight and dropped down inside. Staff were ordered back and kept clear. There was no drilling, no slow siege of the vault doors the whole building was designed around. The men went straight for the cash that was already out, being counted and handled, and began sweeping it into bags. Speed was the whole plan. When it was done, they had taken around 39 million Swedish kronor, the equivalent of roughly $6 million, hauled up through the hole in the ceiling in heavy bags. Then, as fast as they'd come, they were back on the roof and the rotor was turning. This is the part that turns a robbery into a legend. The police had one obvious counter to a flying getaway, their own helicopter waiting at its base across the water. So the gang had reportedly dealt with it first. At the police helicopter base, a bag had been left in plain sight with a warning that it was a bomb. Faced with a possible device beside their aircraft, the officers did the only responsible thing. They pulled back, cordoned it off, and waited for it to be made safe. Their helicopter stayed on the ground. The bag, it was later reported, was a decoy. And on the roads around the depot, caltrops, spikes, had reportedly been scattered to shred the tires of any patrol car that tried to give chase. For the handful of minutes that decided everything, the fastest response a modern city could offer was simply switched off. The helicopter lifted the crew and the money away over the rooftops and was gone. It turned up later, abandoned in woodland to the north of the city, doors open, empty. The men who had flown it and the bags they carried had simply melted into the country. What followed was one of the largest investigations the country had seen. Over the months, detectives worked forensics, surveillance, phone records, and informants, and slowly built cases against the men they believed had planned and carried it out. In the end, 7 were brought to court. But a spectacular crime is not the same as a solved one, and a courtroom is a harder room than a rooftop. Some of the men were convicted, a pilot, a man who had gone down through the roof, and a planner said to be the brains of it, and on appeal, their sentences were increased rather than cut. But others walked free, cleared entirely, including the man accused of leaving the fake bombs that grounded the police. And underneath every headline sat the same stubborn fact. The 39 million kronor lifted off that roof was never recovered. Not in a raid, not in a bank account, not in a buried bag. It was laundered, spent, hidden, absorbed into the world without a trace. Even now, no one has ever fully drawn the picture of who did what up on that roof or where the money went. They attacked from the one direction no one guards, they switched off a city's police for 20 minutes, and then they flew away. And on the only question that really matters, they are still ahead. Next time on Masterplan.